Today is the 6th day of April 2006, and we're at the offices of the Retired Senior Volunteer Program of Sacramento County at 3727 Marconi Avenue in Sacramento, California. Today I'm interviewing Mr. Felipe Cruz. Mr. Cruz lives in Galt, California currently. He was born on the first day of May 1931 in Manteca, California, and is therefore 74 years old. My name is Jesse Diaz, and I'll be conducting the interview and operating the camera. Also in the room with us today is Mr. Cruz's wife, Llewellyn Cruz. Mr. Cruz, okay if I call you Felipe?
Sure, that'd be fine.
Felipe, what branch of service did you serve in?
I was in the United States Marine Corps.
Okay. And what war?
During the Korean War.
You saw combat, of course.
Limited.
Uh-huh. What rank did you get to in
I attained the rank of corporal.
do you recall your first days in the service?
Very well, yes.
How did that go? How was boot camp?
Well, Marine Corps boot camp is something you never forget. I think that was the roughest part of my duty in the whole Marine Corps.
Do you remember any of your instructors?
Yes, I do.
What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I had a Sergeant Parrish, PFC Cruz, and PFC Pierce. And they were very good instructors.
Did you feel like you were prepared to go to combat then?
Yes, they did a very good job preparing us. You know, with the training was very rough and very strict, and you followed orders. And, It was a whole different scenario than civilian life. It was 180 degrees the other way.
So, how old were you when you enlisted?
I was 19.
You were had you graduated from high school then?
No, I was a dropout.
Well,
but may I say that I came back from the service and I went to junior college and I did obtain my high school diploma.
Oh, good for you. Good for you. So, where were you living at the time then when you enlisted?
I was living in Manteca.
With your parents or?
With my parents, yes, sir.
Do you? So, can you tell us then where exactly you went? You did your boot camp at San Diego?
Yes, at Marine Corps Recruit Depot, San Diego, California.
And then from there, where did you go?
From there, during the time I was still in boot camp, we went to Camp Matthews and did our rifle training there, and then returned to MCRD, the Recruit Depot. And from there, we went to Camp Delmar, to a training and replacement command. We had 30 days of mess duty, and then we transferred to Camp Pendleton and did infantry training in preparation for going overseas.
Where's Camp Delmar?
Camp Delmar is across the street from Camp Pendleton.
Oh, so in San Diego then?
In Oceanside, California.
Oceanside. Okay. And then after Pendleton, what?
After Pendleton, we embarked from San Diego and went to Korea.
And where did you serve in Korea?
Well, we served first. I was with an amphibian tractor. I went through amphibian tractor school at Camp Delmar, and we went to Busan, Korea. And we were there about 6 months, and then we moved forward.
Moved forward to where?
To the Imjun River.
Imjun River?
Imjun, I don't remember the spelling.
Okay.
And we're assigned the left end of the river, which is the front line. And we parked our Amtraks and became infantrymen.
Okay, before we go on, explain to me, what is, you said an amphibian tractor. So what is that exactly?
An amphibian tractor is a landing vehicle of troops. They land the infantrymen on shore.
Is that like a half track, or is it a full track, or what?
An amphibian tractor is a track. It's
Uh-huh.
tracked, but its tracks have paddles as they turn. So
Oh,
they
I
can
see.
go on land and they can go on the water.
Oh, I see.
But they're mostly used for landing troops from the ship to the shore.
Right. Okay. What was your job on the tractor?
I was a crewman on the tractor.
And then after you became an infantryman, then what was your position then?
Well, let me explain. I was a crewman on the tractors there at Mason. When we moved north, they needed an experienced heavy truck driver, which I had done in my civilian life,
Uh-huh.
and they needed one at the time when we moved up north. So I was assigned to the motor pool of the amphibian tractor battalion, which was headquarters in service, which services the line companies. I was in Charlie Company, Amtrak. When we moved up north, they took me out of Charlie Company and put me in H&S Company, and I became a truck driver,
Okay.
and heavy equipment truck driver. And they parked the tractors, and the crewmen became infantrymen along the river, and they protected a line which tied in with the infantry outfits further up the line.
Right. But you were a truck driver.
But I was a truck driver, and I supplied Abel, Baker, and Charlie Company, which were now infantrymen. See, in the Marine Corps, you're basically an infantryman, first and last.
Yes.
Then you specialize.
Yes.
But if they ever need infantrymen, they'll take them from wherever they can get them because you've got the training.
Right.
Cooks or wherever they become infantrymen if needed.
So you were serving along that same line on the river?
Yeah.
And did you see combat there?
The combat I saw is I used to deliver up to the lines, and if they got incoming fire, and I happened to be there,
Mm-hmm.
that's why I was awarded combat pay
Right.
for the when I was, if I happened to be there when they got incoming fire.
Well, sure. But you're still in harm's way.
Yes.
Yeah. Did you see a lot of casualties there during the
The casualties I did see was at times when we were pulled to go to the infantry with our trucks to bring back body bags to division mortuary, or what you want to call it. I did that a couple times.
Yeah, that must not have been very
No,
pleasant.
it's not very pleasant.
Can you recall some of your most memorable experiences?
Well, I did this truck driving. I used to supply the troops up front, barbed wire, whatever they needed, food. I'd take it up from headquarters and service companies to supply the companies.
Yeah, and I guess one of the most memorable experiences would be having to bring back the body bags and
We never had any casualties in Amtrak. We tied in on the other side of the line. The firing, most of it was further to the right from where we were. We'd get occasional fire once in a while, artillery from across the river, but very, very rare.
Yeah.
But we had to be there to hold that position,
Sure.
secure it.
Was that in driving back and forth? Were you at risk there? Were you driving behind the lines, or
I was behind the lines, but I went to the forward area,
right?
to and from.
And then would you stay? What would you do? Stay in the forward area as long as they needed you, or would you return immediately?
I would deliver and stay there for an hour or so while they unloaded the trucks, barbed wire, and the food, the clothing. I would take the clothing sergeant or corporal, whoever, and he would go with me, and he'd dispense the clothes to the people that needed up front, supplies.
Yeah. And you were telling me earlier that you did receive some medals and or citations there while you were there. Which one are those?
I received the Korean Service Ribbon with 3 stars, the UN Service Ribbon, the National Defense Service Medal.
And does that include the Korean medal that you received later in the?
No, it does not. That was when I went back. I was awarded another medal when I went back to visit Korea.
You were telling me about that. What?
1998.
Yeah, in 1998. Tell me about that.
The Korean government would, if you bought your passage over on the Korean airline, any veteran that was there, Navy, Marine Corps, Army, or Air Force, who was there during the Korean conflict, they would welcome you in Korea once you landed, and it was all on them. You know, the hotels, the tours, and my wife went with me, and we went all the way to Panmunjom. We were in the Quonset huts where they signed the armistice, where there was a North Korean guard on one end of the door, that considered North Korea, and there was South Korean guard on the other end of the door. There was a table in the middle that divided, and we saw where they signed the papers, the pens that were still there where they signed the papers. We could see the North Korean flag across the line there.
So the building, it was right on the border there, the line there.
Yes, definitely.
So you actually had a table straddling that line then, because
Right, and half that table belonged to North Korea, and half belonged to South Korea. So you had a North Korean guard on the north door, and South Korean on this side. And we could only enter to the South Korean door and walk on this side.
Well, you weren't welcomed on the other side.
No, we were not. And they told us, don't make eye contact, don't smile at the North Korean guards, don't wave, don't look at them, and don't make eye contact.
Oh. And how is country compared to when you were there as a soldier? How is the country now?
Oh, it's beautiful. The city of Seoul is beautiful. The bridges are all back up, well lighted, beautiful freeways. I was amazed. I didn't want to go back. My wife talked me into going back. I did not want to go back because I saw the devastation. I saw kids starving, literally on the feet starving. Swollen ankles and knees and skinny legs. And I didn't have no desire to go back. But now I'm glad that she talked me into it, because I saw everything has changed. It's a beautiful city. It's a beautiful city. It rivals any other beautiful city I've seen in other countries or even here in the United States.
But during the war, it was pretty bad.
Oh, it was. Buildings were to the ground. Bridges were all twisted metal in the river. It was. I happened to go through there twice, and it was terrible.
Yeah. A lot of starvation.
A lot of starvation. Yeah. Kids, starving on the streets. Women.
Well, when you were there during the war, were you married at that time?
No, I was not.
Okay. So how did you stay in touch with your family back? Just by mail?
By mail, yes.
There were no computers or anything?
No cell phone, no computers, no nothing.
What was the food like there in the country?
The government food we had? It was regular military food. It was wholesome, and sometimes it didn't taste too good, but it kept us alive.
Yeah. And how about did you have an opportunity to to go out into the country and talk with people and try their food there?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did, because as a truck driver, I would go through these small towns, and I could talk to people, and I'd pick up souvenirs and stuff, that I distributed to some of my friends.
Mm-hmm.
They'd ask me, hey, if you ever find something like this, get one for me, and I would,
Mm-hmm.
because as driving down these roads and stuff, you run into a lot of these little small villages and stuff, and I was always on the lookout for stuff like that.
Yeah. Was the local food good?
I tried it a few times. I still like kimchi. My wife doesn't like it, but I still eat it.
Is that the food that smells real bad?
I don't remember about the smell too much. You have a little sake with it, and
Yeah.
it was good.
How about the people? How did the people treat you?
The people were real respectful people. You give them something, and they'd bow, and they were nice people.
Yeah. There's a story about going back to your induction time. You had to choose between the Navy and Marines what you were going to do, and who offered you the cookies?
Oh, when we were at 50 Fell Street, we went in there to get inducted. Well, when we went in there was a Marine Corps sergeant, a woman,
Mm-hmm.
woman Marine, and she said, "You fellows sit down there," and it was a big hall, and you sit down there, make yourself comfortable. There's coffee and there's cookies over there, and help yourself. He says, and pretty soon we're going to take you to another room, and you'll be inducted into the Naval Service. Well, I thought the Naval Service was the Navy. Well, I'm going to be in the Navy. And so we went into the next room soon, and a Marine Corps captain gave us the oath, and and they said, okay, go back to the room where you were before and have a seat. And somebody will be there shortly to give you some orders. So we went back to the other room, and some of the guys started getting up to go get cookies and coffee, and that Marine Corps sergeant jumped all over. The same woman just changed completely. She says, who said you could have coffee and cookies? You sit down and get back down. You're in the Marine Corps. You're not Marines, but you're in the Marine Corps now. One fellow said, I thought we were in the Naval Service. He said, you are, the better part of it. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. But she said, from now on, you don't move unless you're told. Sit down. And that was the beginning of 8 weeks.
So you didn't know you were going into the Marine Corps then?
No, I thought it said the Naval Service.
Yeah. Okay. Well, did when you were driving truck in Korea with the supplies? So were the troops well supplied? Did they have everything they needed for combat?
Pretty much so. Very much so. I do get very much so.
Yeah. So they didn't lack for ammunition or weapons or anything?
No, not. We could have used more ice cream, maybe a little more beer.
Yeah. And what was the feeling there in Korea? Was a lot of stress? Were you guys always under stress?
There's always a little stress, but the morale was good.
Mm-hmm.
Really good. Comradeship and everything was really good.
Yeah.
Guys would help each other out. I don't know about other branches of the service, but we're a tight-knit group. We were a tight-knit group. And, to this day, I still attend reunions of the same amphibian tractor battalion.
Oh, you do?
Yes. One guy will host it in California this year, and then another guy in San Antonio, South Dakota. Maine. I go to all of them, and we travel, and we meet from Wednesday to Sunday. We have real good times. That's how I found out about this tour to Korea from a couple of fellows in my arena that had gone.
Oh. How long did that last?
It lasted for, I think, a little over a week, maybe 9 days, something like that, 7, 8, 9 days. And we were treated wonderful. The best hotel, the brand new buses, when they took us on tour. And, we had a choice on the way back to go to Hong Kong or to Japan or back to Hawaii. Well, my wife had never been in Hawaii, so we decided on the way back to go to Hawaii, and we stayed there for 3 days.
Oh, nice.
And then we flew back to the United States.
Uh-huh.
But the Korean tour was wonderful.
Yeah. How about the rest of the countryside, other than the city? Did you get to see any of the other
On the tour?
Yes.
Yes. I noticed that they were farming with little John Deere tractors that could go in the water. When I was there, the people, the kids and the women were knee deep in water in the rice paddies planting the rice.
Mm-hmm.
The plants one at a time. And I didn't see any more people out. I saw little tractors. The rice paddies are not much bigger, but they had little. I saw a John Deere tractor.
Mm-hmm.
Right up close. I know it was John Deere, and they were planting the rice with machinery.
Good. And was in Korea were the I know in Vietnam they said that they had a hard time distinguishing between the regular people and the Viet Cong people that were infiltrating. Was that a problem in Korea as well?
Yeah, it was. It was. Yes, it was. Not so much in our area, but I know that there was a couple instances where we did catch infiltrators coming in.
Uh-huh.
Yes, that was a problem.
And these infiltrators, would they just blow up places? What was their purpose?
Well, in our position, they were caught.
Mm-hmm.
That I know of, they never got a chance to blow up anything.
But that was
how many got through and went further back. There was some sabotaging further back behind our lines at
Uh-huh.
times. I never witnessed it, but I heard about it.
So, how long were you in Korea then?
I was there for approximately 13 months.
13 months?
12, almost 13.
When were you there when the war, the conflict, when it ended?
No, I was not. I came back before.
You had come back. Did you come back directly to the States, or did you go somewhere else?
No, I came back directly to San Francisco.
And
well, we stopped in Japan. We went from Korea to Japan, and we were there for 8 hours and picking up some other troops, and then we came directly back to San Francisco.
Mm-hmm. But you didn't have a chance to go on leave or anything while you were there?
No.
So your 13 months in Korea, that was straight through. You didn't take R&R or anything like that when?
No, I did not.
And let's see. The relationship between the troops and the officers, how was that?
It was very good, very good. The officers were real attentive, and they looked after us well.
Mm-hmm. What was the weather like while you were there?
Well, the weather is there. What the difference here is that it's nice and sunny, and an hour later a storm comes through there and it'll drop rain like you never saw before, and an hour later it's gone, and an hour after that the dust is flying.
Hmm.
The sun comes out and the roads are all dusty again. It's very unique.
Mm-hmm. What was your schedule like as a driver there? Were you on all week long, or what?
Pretty much so. Pretty much so.
So you'd, pretty much like a work day then, huh?
On the weekend, it lightened up a little bit, but
Mm-hmm.
if they needed something, you went.
Yeah. So even if it was a weekend, then it didn't matter. If you needed to go, you.
And if other companies needed help, they'd call. And, you know, you went and helped other battalions. If artillery needed some help with hauling stuff, or ammo or something, well, they'd take 2 trucks from the amphibian tractors and run them over to artillery, and you'd help them.
Mm-hmm. Well, when you came back, what date did you come back from?
It was just before Christmas. I think we got back about on the 18th of December.
18th of December, and the war there ended when?
The following year.
So you were out of the service by then?
Oh yeah. I got out in. I think they signed the armistice in '53, didn't they? I'm not sure.
It would
But
have
when
been really late '53.
Yeah. Well, see, I got out in '54, April of '54.
Uh-huh.
So I think the war was over by then.
Yeah, I think I think it was still at that time. It was still kind of on and off. It wasn't. I know even late in '54 there was a flare up again in the crew.
See, I got there in November of '51, the same year I enlisted, and I spent all of '52 there.
Uh-huh. So when you came back, where did you go?
I went on leave, and I had picked up an ulcer,
Mm.
and I was, given some portable medication. I went on leave and told to stay on kind of a bland diet, and my orders were to go to Oakville Naval Hospital in Oakland
Mhm.
when my leave was over, and that's where I reported. And I was there for approximately, I don't remember, 3 months.
3 months. In the hospital?
Yeah, for an ulcer.
Wow.
And this is a story that might be interesting. When I was about to get discharged, we had a captain, Marine Corps captain, that took care of all the Marine patients there at the,
Mm-hmm.
and he told me, he says, you're leaving here Friday, and he says, and you're going to go back to Camp Delmar because we don't have Amtrak's out here. He said, you're an Amtrak man, so he says, you're going back. And he said, I feel bad. He says, because I know you just live over the hill here. It's about 70 miles from my house.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel uncertain. And as I saluted, I started to walk out the door, and he told me, he says, wait a minute. He says, so are you going to stay in the Marine Corps? I says, no, sir, I'm not. He said, well, here's an option. It's up to you. He says, if you go back to Amtrak, he says, you've got a year grade as a corporal, so you probably make sergeant shortly after you got there. He says, but if you're not going to sit in the Marine Corps and you're not worried about making another grade, he says, I see you drove truck over it. Part of your duty is driving truck over there in your civilian life. So if you don't mind, I can change your MOS from Amtrak man to truck driver, and I could station you over here at Department of Pacific in San Francisco. I says, do it, sir.
Yeah, that wasn't a hard decision to make.
So I spent, I had 13 months left to do, and I spent 10 of them at the Department of Pacific. And from there, I was transferred, I was a short timer, and they needed a guard at Alameda Naval Supply Center, or Naval Supply Center in Oakland.
Mm-hmm.
They needed someone to guard duty, so the colonel at the time told me, I hate to send a man with a lot of time to go to a guard company. So you've got 3 months left. If you stay in the Marine Corps, he says, I'll keep you here. But if you're going to go out, I'll have to send you because you're a short timer. So I hate to send a man with a lot of time to a guard company. So I said, well, send me. So I got discharged from Naval Supply Center. That's where I was doing.
In Oakland.
In Oakland.
And you remember the day that you got out?
Yes, the 5th of April, 1954.
Happy day, huh?
Happy day. And I might add that the reason I don't have any uniforms was when I left, I had made some friends there, and I said, give me your hat. I need this, I need this. So I dispersed my uniform. I walked out there with civilian clothes. I'm sorry I didn't keep it now, but at the time I was young and I wasn't thinking about it.
Yeah. So you returned then to
civilian life.
Manteca?
Yes, to Manteca.
Yeah. And then what? You went back to school?
Yes, I went back to school. I worked for about 3 years driving truck, and then my GI Bill, I decided I'd take advantage of it. I went back to junior college, and I studied basic electricity, and at the same time I picked up enough credits to get my high school diploma. And my mommy was very proud of that, because there was 13 in our family, and they all had a high school diploma.
Yeah, great. So then what did you do as a career after?
I drove truck.
You drove truck? Okay.
I tried a few other jobs, but it seemed like they never worked out. I always wanted to drive truck, and this is what I did all of my adult life.
Tell me about when you got home. How did you get back to Manteca?
Well, when I was stationed in San Francisco, I bought my own car, and that's how I got home. I used to come home on weekends. When I didn't have duty, I'd come home on weekends, and that's how I left there. I had a car, and I packed my stuff, the little stuff I had, and I came home.
Yeah. So your family had already seen you and they knew you were getting out of the service.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I went back home to live with my parents.
And did your ulcers cause you any more problems after that?
I have to watch what I eat. Too much coffee bothers me. Alcohol, hard liquor, it bothers me.
Yeah.
Chili, I used to like to eat a lot of chili. Now, it really bothers me. That's what tears me up the most.
Yeah. So
other than that, it's been good. I've never had to go on extended medication for it after that.
Right. Yeah. So the young man in Korea, what were your thoughts? I mean, as you're still a young guy and completely different lifestyle. What were you thinking back there?
Well, I was thinking about coming home. Your thoughts are always at home.
Yeah.
I wasn't homesick,
Was it?
But you think of home, and you're counting the days, the months.
You made a lot of friends there.
Yes, very much so, very much. And I'm still, like I said, we still have a reunion. I'm in contact with lots of them.
Most of them from this area, or with?
Oh no, all over the United States.
Oh, all over the United States.
Yes.
So, and you were telling me that the reunions rotate from place to place, then? Huh?
Yes. For instance, we hosted one at Camp Pendleton twice. San Antonio, Texas. Oxford, Alabama. Mississippi. Lake Charles, Louisiana. Yankton, South Dakota. St. Joseph, Missouri.
And do you go to all of these?
Yes.
Yeah. So what is it? Take you like a week's trip or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
We fly and we'll rent a car when we get there, and some we drive to, like Camp Pendleton. We've had two,
Mhm.
and we drive there.
So do you belong to veterans organizations now?
I belong to the VFW. Yes, I'm a past commander
In Manteca?
in Galt, California.
In Gulf? Okay. Yeah. Let me ask
Now
you-
I have also within Antigua. That's where I started,
Mhm.
and I've been in the one in Modesto. I transferred from when I moved. At present, it's the VFW in Galt.
So, so you moved to different cities then when you were.
Yeah, I have with my work or my wife's work.
Where did you meet your wife?
I met her at Pittsburgh, California. She was a teller at a bank, for Crocker Bank at the time.
And
I used to walk. I banked with Crocker
uh-huh.
in Modesto, and then when I transferred to Pittsburgh, my job, I used to cash my check there,
Mm-hmm.
and I see this little girl smiling at me all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I walked in with a buddy, and he said, "That little girl's smiling at you." I said, "She's smiling at you." I said, "You better look, and she's smiling at you." He said, "Oh, she's smiling at you." Wow. One day, I walked in there by myself to cash my check, and I went to one of the tellers, and as I got there, she closed the window. She said, "You'll have to go to the other line." So I went and stood at the other line. As I got to the front of the line, closed the window. She said, "You'll have to go to the other line." So I did, went to the third line, and again, that same teller closed the window. Unbeknown to me, there was a conspiracy. So I said, "Wow, this is too much. I'm going to go see the manager." Well, by this time, my wife called me and said, "I'll help you over here, sir." And we got to talking, and afterwards, I kind of go, when I see her at the window, I kind of go to her line. And so she knew more or less what, when I was banking, that I was single, and how much money I would take out to, at times I need so much money, I got to pay my rent this month, or this, my PG&E.
Mhm.
I want to bank so much. So one day I says, "I'm going to need an extra $25. So she said, "Why?" I said, "Well," I said, "I've worked half the night," and I said, "I'm not sleepy." I said, "I'm going to go over here to Albany to the racetrack. I like to play the horses." So she says, "Oh, I've never been." So I told her, "Well, if you'd like to go," I said, "I'm going to go across the street and have something to eat, and I'll be there till 1 o'clock. And she said, "Oh, I have to work." "Well, you could get sick." So I left it at that. I walked across the street, and I'm reading the racing form and having my hamburger. Pretty soon somebody taps me on the shoulder. She says, "I got sick." And recorded for, I don't remember the time, 6, 7, 8 months, and shortly thereafter we married.
Put you on the line here. When did you get married?
It was the 2nd of March, 1974.
Okay, 1974. And then, so you've had family?
I have 2 children.
Uh-huh.
I have a son, 27, and I have a daughter that's 30 years old.
How old were you when you got married?
I think I was 45.
So you were up in years then by the time.
Yes, I was. I was a late bloomer.
Yeah. Okay. I want to ask you, I think you're probably a good person to ask this. How do you think your military experience influenced your thinking about war or about the military in general?
Well, I don't like war. Not only because my friends and my comrades that are with me get killed and stuff, but it devastates the population there. Civilians, there's starvation. A lot of civilians get killed, innocent civilians that are in the way that it displaces people, and they get killed, and it's not war is nasty.
Yeah. What about the military? What are your thoughts on the military?
Well, the military is a necessary thing, and especially in this day and age.
Mm-hmm. Do you think? How do you think that your service and your experiences affected your life after?
I think it made me a better person. It showed me a lot of responsibility, I believe.
You think that made a difference in what path you took later on?
It did. I went back and completed my high school education. When I left, I was a dropout. I wasn't too interested in school.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my fault, no fault of my instructors, because I had the best.
Mm-hmm. So it made you think the military made you a more responsible person?
More responsible.
And you have other family members in the military?
Yes. There's 4 brothers, and they all served in the military.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the Marine Corps. The brother that follows me was in the National Guard for, I guess, till he got discharged, And then my other brother, Chris, he was in the Navy for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And my younger brother, who's an educator now, he was in Vietnam, and he was an officer, and he got wounded.
Mm-hmm.
He's got the Bronze Star, Purple Heart.
Do you feel like maybe you've been a mentor in influencing your nephew, your step grandson?
I think so.
Yeah. Well, where are they?
My stepson's in I can't think of it. In Iraq. I can't think of the town.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's Fallujah.
Fallujah. They kind of look up to you?
He would ask me a lot of questions for when about the Marine Corps. I'm very proud of that he went.
Uh-huh. He's serving over there now. And your nephew?
He's in boot camp.
Oh, right now. He's probably not thinking too great of you right now.
But he will. When he gets out, he will.
Yeah. Well, that's great. That's great. So tell me about the veterans organizations that you belong to. What functions do they do?
Well, the VFW is an established organization. Been, I think, around since World War I. I think they began it. And I'm proud to serve. And we do a lot of services for other veterans and the community. We do a lot of community work, and we work for the veterans.
Mm-hmm.
And we're in parades. We go to funerals of our own veterans. Any veteran that passes away is entitled to call the VFW, and we'll go do firing, play taps.
Mm-hmm.
a great organization.
Yeah.
I like to encourage all the Iraq kids that come back, they're eligible to go to become members of the VFW.
I think we're about at the end of the interview, but I wanted to ask you before we finish up if there's anything that we haven't covered so far in the interview that you'd like to talk about.
I'd like to tell you a little story about a
Yes.
reunion. The first one we had was in San Antonio, Texas. And when we got there, well, we all had to get reacquainted because, you know, we all look different now. And, you know, we'd introduce each other. One fella came in late and, you know, we all got up and shook his hand, talked to him, and I recognized the name. And evidently, he didn't recognize my name. And we were talking, and he said, hey, he says, whatever happened to that skinny Mexican kid that used to come up to the, bring supplies up to the truck driver, used to bring supplies up to us and stuff, and he always had behind the seat, he always had, you know, pineapple cans, and he, you know, used to give us all this extra stuff out there. And one guy said, that's Cruz right here. Well, let me tell you, when I was over there,
Yeah.
I was 5'8", and I weighed 128 pounds. And when we were at the reunion, I was up to about 150, 160, and a few gray hairs.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to mention in the interview?
Not the only thing that I'm looking forward to our next reunion, which is going to be held in Branson, Missouri. And any Amtrak fellows out there who are in our outfit, 1st Marine Division or 3rd Marine Division, they're welcome.
Any thoughts about your time in the service? Did you feel positive about the time you spent there?
Very much so. I'm glad I went through it. At the time I wasn't, but now in retrospect, I'm very grateful that I went through that.
Yeah. Great. Okay, well, thank you, Felipe, for taking the time to come and share your memories and your experiences with us. And on behalf of the country, I want to thank you for the sacrifices that you and your family made. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for having me.